The fact that Disney's budget for Snow White 2025 was well above $350 million altogether when you're factoring in marketing expenses and everything to do with their overall support for Rachel Zegler when it comes to traveling expenses and everything else to do with the press tour, everything built in, it just goes to show you how irresponsible and incompetent Disney CEO Bob Iger truly was when it came to the budgeting metrics surrounding Snow White. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So the drama between both Gal Gadot and of course Rachel Zegler continues, and it's only getting worse at this point because we already know that Snow White is not only a box office disaster, we also know that it is getting a lot of abysmal reviews. A lot of them are coming in even from once trusted critics by the Walt Disney Company, critics that quote-unquote shilled for anything possible out there, that are actually giving up on this movie because they just know how flat-out bad it is, to the point that they can't even lie about it anymore. That's how bad it really is. That's why all 7 test screenings in a row consecutively failed, both behind the scenes, and of course now you're seeing this happening in the public eye from actual audience members. But what's interesting about all this moving onwards has a lot more to do with the whole Rachel and Gal situation and exactly what Rachel Zegler recently said toward Gal Gadot that I think really goes down as the worst thing possible when it comes to the Snow White situation and everything else revolving around this movie and how much of a colossal failure it truly is. Now, one thing is for certain is that we know that Rachel Zegler, without a doubt, is the one actress in this industry that is universally rejected. We know that there are a lot of studios out there that want nothing to do with her anymore. A lot of Hollywood studios are beginning to show signs of turning of the tide, where they are beginning to just shut out all these incompetent actresses, these unhinged actresses in particular, like Rachel Zegler, that destroy their business. However, with the Walt Disney Company still dealing with the fallout related to both Zegler and Snow White, one significant development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, where Rachel recently said the worst thing yet toward Gal in the midst of the Snow White backlash and abysmal box office metrics. A crucial update to this entire situation now involves how the Walt Disney Company is dealing with more Zegler and Gal drama that recently unraveled. It turns out that Zegler had a moment of outrage toward her co-star during a photo shoot for the Disney Plus/digital version of Snow White. Now, it turns out they are already doing photo shoots for the digital cover for Snow White on streaming, and Rachel Zegler recently exchanged inflammatory words with Gal on set, where Rachel labeled Gal as one of the most incompetent co-stars that she has ever worked with. These arguments sparked from where Rachel felt Gal was asking for too many reshoots for the photo shoot for the new Snow White cover for Disney Plus, where it was beginning to take up to 4 hours to get things done correctly. Rachel blamed Gal for taking up her valuable time and even got into politics yet again, where she urged Gal to never begin bringing up Israel again to the public while promoting Snow White. The photo shoot got so ugly that both Rachel and Gal were giving off bad and negative energy in the shots that were taken that actually had to be taken over and over again. This new poster or cover, so to speak, is set to feature Gal Gadot as both the evil queen and in the witch form as well, all covered up in makeup for a brand new poster for Snow White that's going to be used for the Disney Plus selection. The photo shoot arguments got so intense to the point that Rachel Zegler was blaming Gal Gadot while she was in the witch makeup to move further away from her, and more arguments sparked after that. Rachel went as far to blame Gal that her politics played a role, and her support for Israel are ultimately what led to their movie getting so heavily criticized, with Rachel blaming Gal's support for Israel as the lead cause for the division from fans and non-fans over Snow White. Now guys, let me just pause here quick before I move on. This just goes to show you how out of touch with reality and how unhinged Rachel Zegler really is, because she keeps going off on Gal Gadot for supporting Israel as the lead cause now for why Snow White is bombing at the box office, for why so many people are rejecting this movie outright. And we all know it has nothing to do with Gal in particular. A lot of it had to do with two things. Number one is that it's just a bad movie across the board. The writing, the directing, the producing, the acting, the cinematography, just everything about this thing is abysmal. And the other thing is Rachel Zegler's behavior, right? Between the comments that she made, both in the public eye and behind the scenes, how she was very difficult to work with on set with director Mark Webb and Greta Gerwig and Aaron that worked for the writing of this movie. And also how she herself created a lot of setbacks when it came to the reshoots for Snow White. 3 whole rounds of reshoots for this movie that really added on to the budget of the film, all because of Rachel Zegler, mind you. But this is where it gets even more intense, because we already know that Rachel Zegler is not only unhinged, and now blaming Gal Gadot's politics and her support for Israel as one of the main leading reasons as to why this movie is failing, but also she is blaming Gal Gadot for her previous overall comments toward Rachel Zegler as another reason why this movie's tanking. Now, moving onwards, alright, Gal reportedly had enough of the bad energy, since Gal was heavily made up as the witch for this poster. Now, you can only imagine how hot you're going to get in that makeup under intense lighting. I can only imagine. Now, Gal reportedly had enough of that. However, before Gal left the set, Rachel was actually pulled off the set by a producer that was supervising the entire photo shoot. The poster results were best described to be terrible, where significant editing will need to be done to fix the bad vibes by both Rachel and Gal and what they were putting off. Gal was reportedly extremely offended after Rachel blamed Gal's politics and her support for Israel as the lead cause for the division and failure of Snow White, and also even labeled Gal for being too politically involved during the press tour of Snow White, which honestly is quite hypocritical when you think about it, since Rachel did the worst thing of all while promoting Snow White on social media when she herself brought up politics herself, right? We all know that's exactly what she did some months ago, right when the press tour, right when the marketing campaign was beginning to kickstart for this movie, Rachel had to bring in politics. Not only did she have to bring in the whole Palestine thing, but she had to bring in everything to do with Donald Trump and hating on him and his supporters, his fans, and how she basically said they should never see or have peace. That really just goes to show you how terrible of a human being Rachel Zegler really is. The fact that she's so hypocritical, now she's blaming Gal Gadot and her politics as the lead cause as to why this movie's failing, goes to show you that she's scapegoating at the highest level at this point behind the scenes. Now again, this just goes to show you that the fact that they're already creating a poster for Disney Plus, a cover I should say, when you mouse over or when you select it for the movie, that's what they're creating right now. They're creating a brand new cover for that once this thing debuts, most likely in 2 months' time. Don't be too shocked about this. This movie will be on Disney Plus in no time based on the terrible box office numbers that are going on so far. But again, I mean, like I've said before, this Gal and Rachel situation, I think it's really going to go down as the worst fiasco in Hollywood history when it comes to at least Disney in isolation, right? When it comes to Disney history specifically. It's by far the worst fiasco because you have a lot of things going on between Gal and Rachel, between the Disney executives and the actresses involved in this movie, and it's just out of control and they want to get it done and over with. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.